You're an international company. You work in 12 different countries that all have different cultures and the different way people communicate and relate to each other. You're acquiring companies, so you're acquiring different cultures and assimilating them into yours. You're hiring new outside talent. You've got three different forces that are pulling at a high performance culture. How do you keep a high performance culture the reins on and headed in the right direction when you have so many complex factors that are constantly in the fray?
I'll answer it locally and then think about it more globally. So, locally, when I say locally, my people and culture team, we go through an offsite. We did this in October. We start looking at what do we need to plan for 2025. We have several different pillars. So we think about how do we support the business with revenue and growing the business. For us, that typically manifests as how do we lower risks within the organization. We have a pillar around that. We have quite a bit around how we are recruiting and retaining talent and the strategies in which we can recruit and retain talent. Leadership development is core for myself and my team. We want to invest in our top talent, not just our top talent, but we want to invest in as much of the organization as we can. You have to make some calls there. It's not an unlimited checkbook. And then we have a whole area around our processes, our policies, our systems. So that time together, whether it's virtual or in person, and this year it was virtual, but we really map out where do we need to focus our efforts that enable the business to drive toward all of the business objectives that are critical for either this year or going into next year. That's kind of how my team approaches it. Our executive leadership team also sets out a strategic map. Each of our functional areas are represented, and usually one area received maybe more focus. So I think headed into 2025, there's going to be a great emphasis on customer and also on revenue and growth, but it doesn't always stay the same. It kind of switches, but every area has representation. I believe strongly in very open, transparent communication. So my team and I are very locked in terms of we have a regular cadence that we're meeting for an hour and a half every 2 weeks, sometimes every week, but usually every 2 weeks. And we talk about where our wins are, what challenges we're having. And if we're seeing challenges in one region, it's likely that challenge may be popping up in a different region. Just that communication venue keeps us very closely tied together. So we can early on identify where we might have some challenges popping up, try and triage those proactively. But you're right. It's a challenge because you're skilling up, you're training your current core base of team members. And at the same time, you're bringing new people into the family. They may or may not want to be part of the family. They're still figuring it out. And we help support and facilitate that. In addition to those miscommunications that happen simply because it's a different language or a different culture. And my team is very empathetic. They've been trained to listen very carefully. And by no means do we always get it right. We don't. But we do. We are very intentional about that.